And we're live for a spooky Halloween Onyx Path News. Hello and welcome. My name is Matthew Dawkins. I will be your Crypt Keeper for tonight. Now that was a missed opportunity, wasn't it? We should have gone for Crypt Keeper for the GM title for They Came From Beyond the Grave. Maybe. Then again, maybe it's already got all sorts of trademarks and copyrights wrapped around it. I don't know. I can't say for certain. We'll stick for Director because we've used Director on the other They Came From. So it's a bit late to change it now. Shouldn't live in regret about these things. There's many things to be regretful of, and that isn't really one of them. Anyway, I'm here to talk about some of our newest releases at Onyx Path, but also to field your questions live, as that is what I do here on the Onyx Path News. It is a lovely Halloween. It is dark outside. There are children knocking at my door occasionally, sometimes ringing the doorbell, and acquiring sweets, as is their way. Haven't been tricked yet. I can't remember the last time I've been tricked. But anyway, speaking of horror, our release last Wednesday was They Came From Beneath My Bed, which is our They Came From sourcebook, which I guess is technically a sourcebook of a sourcebook. It ties most closely to They Came From Camp Murder Lake, but it works just as well with Beyond the Grave or any of the other They Came Froms, really, because it's all cross-compatible. And if you can hear children shouting right now, it's not because they're locked in the cellar, it's because they're out trick-or-treating. That's my excuse, my lord, and that's what I'm saying and sticking to it. But anyway, They Came From Beneath My Bed is a source book that is based around, and happy Halloween to you too, bro Milliard. Those wonderful inspirations that we took when we were far too young to be enjoying horror. I know most of us role-playing types, it seems, gravitated toward horror when we were just prior to 10 years old or in our early teens. We were watching movies we shouldn't have, playing video games we shouldn't have, embracing the horror that we shouldn't have. But sometimes there was horror that was aimed directly at our ages, what some call the young adult section. The Goosebumps books, point horror, video games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, the Clock Tower series as well. There were a lot of, I guess, teenage horror materials out there that certainly in the early 90s, mid-90s, when I was of that age, I was hungrily embracing. I was going to the public library and I would always come out with more horror material. And when it was point horror, it tended to be about evil babysitters, lifeguards, cabins on beaches. I think there is one called Trick or Treat as well, for that matter. But also, of course, Goosebumps as well. Goosebumps was a fantastic series. For all I know, it's still going. But point being, I can wax eloquent and nostalgic about all of those wonderful inspirations. But They Came From Beneath My Bed is the role-playing equivalent of those books. We give you 2 new archetypes. We give you what else do we give you? We give you our story hooks that tie loosely or more solidly into many of those mediums that we were talking about. We give you some new monsters as well. So there's a lot to play with in here. It's a source book that I think you'll appreciate if you like that kind of thing. Now, I believe I linked it below. I believe I did. I'll have a quick look. Let's see. They Came From Beneath My Bed. I can see it right there. And I'm going to quickly make sure that link is actually correct, because I've got a feeling that it may not be. So, to excuse the clicking, this is changing things in live. There we go. Are You Afraid of the Dark? There you go. That's another fantastic inspirational series. Very Canadian. Everyone seems to wear plaid or plaid and have mullet haircuts in Are You Afraid of the Dark? But I remember it well. I remember one that had a creepy clown, of course, in a fun house. I think the fun house had burned down at some point, and Zeppo the clown, that sounds familiar. I don't think I'm giving John Wayne Gacy's clown name. And there was another one which was based all around the Nosferatu silent movie. I remember that very distinctly. But anyway, Let's see what we've got going on in the chat. Do check out They Came From Beneath My Bed, because it is only going to cost you a few dollars, and it's a source book that you can use for any They Came From, but most specifically for Beyond the Grave and Camp Murder Lake. We have Kurgar saying, good old people under the stairs, for example. I think M. Night Shyamalan did something similar. Michele says, happy Halloween, and hi to all pineapples in chat. I have some, I don't have pineapples, I've got pumpkins on the doorstep, but they'll have to do. Round the Twist, there's our Australian cousins and their teen horror. Round the Twist, have you ever thought like this, or felt like this, I should say, that strange things happen when you're going round the twist? Is a question all of us must ask, and I find the best way of answering it is by listening to some Pugwall. If you're not familiar with Peter Eugene Wall, he's a fantastic young musician that really helps supplement the horror of Round the Twist. But anyway. Michele says, beneath my bed is a delight. Buy it before Slappy the puppet gets to you. Yes, Slappy, our favorite ventriloquist dummy, but not the only one. There were quite a few ventriloquist dummies, animated as they were in Goosebumps, and we obviously had Slappy. I think the first one may even be called Woody. Slappy becomes the most famous one. Again, I'm testing my Goosebumps knowledge here, but there's a few. Because the family already has one. I think they buy another one, and the one comes to life, and then by the end, the other ones come to life, or something like that. What else do we have here? Qualia mentions, yes, we had Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's very true. How many Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark memories? Oh, yes, well, we're all filled with them. And yes, so anyway, we've done our They Came From Beneath My Bed, but while we're sticking on They Came From, let's talk also about the fact that this is the last day, this Halloween is the last day of the They Came From sale. Do not miss out. I know I've mentioned many times that it is our 10th anniversary at Onyx Path this year, and that means certain products have 90% off their current price. Well, this month has been They Came From month, as I'm sure you know. But what you might have missed is that this is the last day of They Came From month. So if you want to get any They Came From book at 90% off, now is the time to do it. Do check it out. But also, while you're there, do check out on the Story Path Nexus, They Came to Get You, Barbara, and They Came From the Pits of Hell, because that is the community content Night of the Living Dead source book for They Came From. And also They Came From source book where you can play as monsters, all your favorite vampires, swamp things, and so forth. So do check them out. Every month is They Came From month, as Bro Milliard says, and I can't disagree. I mean, that's pretty much how I live my life. I mean, we did have a copy of Beyond the Grave right next to me, but in spooky fashion, as Halloween started this morning, I just got up and it came crashing down. I mean, it was unlikely to do me serious harm because it's right there, but it could have given me a nasty bruise if it hadn't just landed straight on the floor and bent all the pages. Anyway, obviously, Scion God is still on backer kit. We are very near $100,000, which is not to be sniffed at all. We just funded our lovely Scion t-shirt. I personally have a wardrobe full of Onyx Path branded apparel, and I only bring it out for special occasions, weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs, the occasional christening. And so I will be looking forward to wearing my Scion God t-shirt for such an occasion. I'm thinking maybe inauguration. That would be a good occasion to wear a Scion God t-shirt. Yeah. But yeah, Scion God is doing very, very well. We recently did a poll on the backer kit to see what you, the backers, wanted to see next, and we do really encourage that you get involved in that kind of thing if you feel so inclined. This is obviously our first backer kit campaign. We do a lot of our crowdfunding through Kickstarter, then it goes on to backer kit afterwards. This is the first time we've launched at the front end of backer kit. It's gone very well for us, and we would love it if more people gave support. We have certainly exceeded expectations in terms of our backing, but obviously would love to see more. And Scion God is the game where you get to play as gods. And as I have mentioned before, it is a game that somehow balances, and all credit to the creators, all credit, especially to Hiromi Kota. I know, Hiromi, it wasn't just you. I know you led a fantastic team, but all credit to Hiromi Kota from me to you as developer for really bringing together a game which could have been incredibly complicated. You know, making any game where you have that much range of power accessible is a challenge, but Hiromi and their team did a superb job. So well done, Hiromi. But yeah, that's all going on. We have another release coming up this Wednesday. Of course, we always release something new on Wednesday. Hello, Big Sarge, as well. And hello, Big Sarge, and not only hello, Big Sarge. Thank you, Big Sarge. I noticed, Big Sarge, you comment on so many of the videos that we post on here, even if it's just to say hi. And that doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you very much for taking the effort, making the effort to do so. And you know what? Something else I'm going to ask right now, and by all means, if you have questions to ask me live in chat right now, now is a good time to do so, because downstairs they're watching Hocus Pocus. It's a movie I don't really care for, so I'll stay on here for a little bit longer. Is that if you have bought any of our products recently, especially that they came from books in the last month of sale, that you go on DriveThruRPG where you purchased it and you leave a rating. And if you feel so inclined, leave a review. It will only take you 1 minute to do so, less than 1 minute, and it is so appreciated. And I'm specifically talking to you, buyers of They Came From Beneath My Bed. You probably had it for almost a week now, and it's a short book. It's nice and bite-sized, nice and digestible. Give it your rating. It is appreciated. It will draw more eyes to it. That book is already a copper seller, which copper may sound like a low metal, but it's super conductive. And it's not bad for a book we only released last week. Plus, They Came From sale managed to bump Beneath the Sea into platinum seller status, which, again, not to be sniffed at. I would love to see Beyond the Grave get to that status as well. So if you don't have a copy of Beyond the Grave, you can buy it just today, only today, for $2. Only $2 for They Came From Beyond the Grave. It's a huge amount of gameplay in that book. So do pick up a copy and give it a rating if you so wish. So let's see. Nicholas Milioni, friend of the show, says, Matthew, have you considered They Came From the Fast and Furious rating supplement? Okay. So it'll be what? They came from family. They came from supercharged cars. So no. Though that's not to say it couldn't be done. I would see They Came From Fast and Furious. I would have to rethink the title as a supplement to They Came From the Danger Zone. Which is a book that's coming up, of course, with some fantastic writers on it. All fantastic writers. Some of them are in this chat. And I think that, yeah, we've already got rules in there for fighting in jets or airborne fighting. And with, I think it was They Came From the Bermuda Triangle, which is a book that's already on DriveThruRPG, we did maritime combat. So I think They Came From Fast and Furious. There we go. They came from the Reading Speedway. They came from Fuel and Fury. What else? They came from Pemberley. No, that's not a Fast and Furious one, Qualia. Enough with with all that. You could easily have rules for chases, gunfights between cars. Of course, you'd have some evil narcos as well, trying to ruin your high-speed octane fun, where no civilians ever get mown down by someone speeding far too fast through a city. Thank goodness. So we also have a question here about, yes, They Came From Pemberley, which on Twitter just a couple of days ago, I made a thread about, well, for one thing, how to make a They Came From Western and do it without necessarily embracing, or rather how to do it and handle the racism that is inherent in the genre, which may sound rather heavy for a They Came From game. But when you set a They Came From in a genuine historical period with genuine historical injustice, and I mean, one could argue there is historical injustice in any period, but in the West, the Wild West, that is, the way it's depicted on screen. I won't ruin this thread for you. I might see if I can get Rich to post a link to it on the Monday Meeting blogs. If you take a John Wayne Western movie, yes, it's ripe for parody, but every single native that appears in a Western is a, well, villain, and usually one note. Every single Mexican appears in a John Wayne Western is a bandit, and you would be lucky to find one black man or woman in a John Wayne Western. Now, the spaghetti westerns aren't terribly exempt from this. I mean, I'm a huge fan of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but let us not forget that Tuco is played from a Jewish man from New York. He is certainly not. Eli Wallach is not the man we take the ugly to be. All that said, I posted a long thread about how you could do a Western while also acknowledging this kind of thing and still be parodic about it. And then that went on into how to make a Downton Abbey, Pride and Prejudice, costume drama, period drama. They came from as well, which is what Qualia is referring to there with They Came from Pemberley. I very much recommend, if you're not following me on Twitter, at Dawkins MP, you can scroll down and find it very easily, and hopefully it will give you some ideas. In answer to your question, are we going to get a They Came from Pemberley costume drama They Came from? Really, it depends, because as with all these things, we need to gauge how popular, how inviting these things are to an audience. In reality, do I think that a They Came From costume drama would do as well as Beyond the Grave? No, probably not. Horror is a much broader genre. People were drawn more to horror. And so far, I think Beyond the Grave is our most popular They Came From when compared to the amount of time it's been out and the amount of money it drew on Kickstarter. But does that mean there's not a way of doing a They Came From costume drama? I think there probably is. I just would need to think about it. And if you want this kind of thing, the best thing you can do is go on the Monday Meeting and the Monday Meeting blog. Every Monday, so probably Tuesday for a lot of you, you will see a new blog on the onyxpath.com, a new blog entry. If you want to see a different They Came From in a different genre, post about it in the comments there, because Rich, our creative director, always checks those comments. And that's not to say harass Rich, but if there's a game you genuinely want to see or a source book you want to see, we don't know unless you tell us. So what else do we have here in terms of questions? Nicholas says, speaking of Mexican and native characters, you could also do where They Came From based on pre-Columbian civilizations using cultural and sensitivity consultants. So that's an interesting thing, Nicholas, because there isn't really, at least to the, I guess, Hollywood eye, a mass of genre pieces about pre-Columbian, the Americas, essentially. So there's not much to parody there, you know? It would be an interesting thing to explore. The problem is a lot of, I guess, pre-Columbian civilizations, to just use them as an example. You know, there's lots of peoples and civilizations from all around the world that before a certain point, before Christendom, for instance, have been largely, I guess, forgotten and not represented in mainstream culture. Because they're not represented in mainstream culture, it's difficult to parody them. And I think there's also the question of, should they be parodied? I think everything is ripe for parody. Everything can be, but you need to find an intelligent way of doing it that isn't just punching down. It's easy to punch up at stereotypes. That's why in Beneath the Sea, doddery scientists with a bit of sexism are often villains who you can punch up at. We have Beyond the Grave, where we likewise can punch up a fair amount of sexism, exploitation tropes, and so on. But if you start looking at movies that are supposed to be representative of, let's say, the Mayans, there's not a mass of movies where we could punch up at the Mayans. So it's an interesting idea, but I don't know that I could see it through that cinema lens. That just may mean I'm not the right person to do it. So Bro Meliad says, any more news about The World Below? The World Below is still worlding and blowing. We're in our final draft stage. what could I tell you? Well, I can tell you this. If you aren't following Rich Thomas's Twitter or mine, I mean, you will see them all on mine as well. Do so, because you will be getting sneak peeks of the world below. All this month, you will have been seeing sneak peeks about the world below, although they are just image only. I recommend, if you are interested in the world below, a very good place to start. I mean, I've already recommended Hollow Knight, of course, fantastic video game that explores an awful lot of what we're looking at with the world below. The Platform on Netflix, which is a sometimes ham-fisted but also decently made dystopian movie on Netflix as well, about platform that goes lower and lower and lower and exposes you to different, I guess, arguably philosophical and political systems, depending on the levels you are at. High Rise, which is a novel and movie I always recommend to people, regardless of whether they want me to or not, because it's my favorite. But also, I take an awful lot from it for a lot of the work that I do. I'm very single-minded like that. But in terms of content for the world below, what's something to tell you? What's something to tell you that I haven't said before that won't be breaking any great boundaries? I'll tell you this. So, in the world below, one of the things your character will be playing around with is your adaptations, which are kind of mutation, kind of transformation, transformative, where the world around you is actually changing you physically. Now, this isn't Gamma World level, woo, I've just grown new limbs, although that may happen. It's more the world is changing you so that you can survive within it and thrive within it better, one would think. So those transformations may be things like you growing more crystalline in structure. You essentially become part geode. They may be things like you becoming more fungal. That's a very attractive way to be. I'm sure you can agree, especially if the people around you are starving, you can start feeding them with parts of yourself. So, yeah. So there is an element of body horror to the world below, but we are covering a range of different adaptations, geos, as we're calling them, in the world below. But beyond that, I will say no more. I'll say no more for now. For now. But it is, on one hand it's wondrous, on another it's horrifying, and that's my jam. You know, I like things that are aspirational in the sense that I don't want a setting to be horribly bleak and punish you for playing it. But at the same time, I want a certain vein of horror running through this Minecraft on acid. And I can't deny that, because my son plays an inordinate amount of Minecraft, and now so do I. And to my chagrin, he watches a lot of Minecraft with the most irritating YouTubers in the world. I could make a list of their names if I have a death note. Believe me, I will. And yeah, so that all that Minecraft has affected my view of the world below as well. I like the idea of digging through the ground and making your own subterranean kingdoms, but and having to deal with different elements and spawners and creepers and zombies and ghasts and all that, and portals through the nether. It's not going to be quite like that, but there's a hint of Minecraft to it, which I think is good, because I like exploration, and there aren't enough games, in my view, that encourage you to explore the world. So yeah, there will be systems there to encourage that. So let's see, what else do we have here? We've got some more questions. Have a Mage the Ascension question: how are the hollow ones being presented in the fire? In the fire? I'm not sure. Oh, in the future. Well, I mean, I think the hollow ones are appearing in Forbidden and Forgotten Orders, so they will receive a presentation in there. But if you're talking about like a Mage 5th edition, I've got no news, because as far as I know, there is no announcement regarding Mage 5th edition. And Qualia says, my buddy and I are going to do something on High Rise and or the platform soon. So there you go. Qualia, you're already on the ball. You know what you're looking for. So let's see. Made in Abyss, Love Body Hard, most irritating YouTubers in the world. Supplement for They Came From. Yes, they came from YouTube with my big face on the front of it because that was, after all, my origin. I was born on YouTube. No, it's a strange journey that I have taken. I will admit. I think there will be some people here who probably first became acquainted with me through my YouTube channel before they realized I was writing role-playing games for a living. And it's been over 10 years now. I think I started on YouTube in something like 2009, making RPG videos. And that was when videos about RPGs, well, YouTube was pretty much in its infancy then. It still had trending things. But I was one of the first few to make RPG videos on YouTube. And migrating from that to eventually writing RPGs part-time and then full-time has been an interesting journey that I guess, I don't know, maybe it's interesting, maybe it isn't. But I think I would probably have to add myself as a footnote in that most irritating YouTubers, because I've never been able to watch my own videos back. That's because I don't like listening to my own voice. So, but who does? Who does? Anyway, there you go. They came from the algorithm. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to head off for the evening. So, once again, everyone check out They Came From Beneath My Bed. Everybody check out the They Came From sale. There is only one day left, and that day is swiftly running out. Everyone check out Scion God. And do have a lovely Halloween. And I will speak to you again soon. And do check out, one last thing. Do check out my channel, because I will be putting up a schedule soon. I will be doing another one of those long Ask Me Anythings, and I'll be talking a lot about Scion God and other projects that I've been working on. So do go over to The Gentleman Gamer, and yeah, I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.